Hello everyone, dear friends. Welcome to my channel, Venki History Hub. So please subscribe the channel and press on the bell icon so that you will get regular notifications of the class whichever I take. So basically, I completed my masters in history and qualified for UGC NET. So I take classes regarding history, which will be helpful for the candidates whoever is preparing for UPSCs or any state PSCs. And the important thing is it will also be helpful for the candidates who is preparing for UGC NET. Okay, further any delay, let's go into the discussion. So we will be discussing today history of Pala Empire or Pala Dynasty. So on the map you can see the extension of Pala Dynasty. This is the name Pala Dynasty and extended this up to the Pakistan and border of Nepal, Assam, part of Assam, Bangladesh. So this is the extension of Pala Empire. Okay. So before starting with the political history of the Pala Empire, we deal with a little background about the Pala Dynasty, how they came to the power. So basically, I have shown you the map, this map. This is the place where the Bihar and Bengal is located. So this is the place where they originated, and this is the important place for them. Okay, they ruled in the regions of Bihar and Bengal between the 8th and 12th century AD or C. So how it took place? We see till ancient India, the rule of Harshavardhana. So once Harshavardhana died in the year 1647, so there was a chaos or confusion, anarchy for a period of 1 century, mainly in the North India and Northeast India. So at that time, there were many petty kingdoms, or known as chieftains. So they used to rule the kingdom. So how these Palas came to the power after the death of Sasanka? These Palas came into a political scenario. And we see that no proper evidences that how these Palas originated, and we also do not have proper history regarding the origin of Palas. So with this background, we now enter into the political history of the Pala Empire. So the first ruler, that is Gopala. Gopala is said to be the founder of the Pala Empire. Now we deal with the timeline. So this is the timeline of the Gopala according to R.C. Majumdar. So there are around 4 or 5 historians who divided the Pala Empire, means the Pala period. The historian gives a different time period of different ruler. So here in the now we are going to discuss the time period regarding the historian R.C. Majumdar. So this is the timeline given by R.C. Majumdar. So according to the R.C. Majumdar, the Gopala ruled between 750 to 770, and there are other historians who gave a different time period. So you should keep it in mind. So you take a particular historian and follow them. Okay. As I said, Gopala is the founder of the Pala Empire. So we see how he came to power. So Gopala came to power. So as I said, there were many small principalities during the period of 7th and 8th century. Okay, so it was ruled by small rulers, or they are also known as chieftains. Okay, the Bengal was in a position, and whoever the person or chieftain, whoever is a little military power is there, so he used to attack the other chieftains. So this was the condition. So in that condition, the leading men of the Bengal, what they did, so each time these people, the rulers fight, so it's going to affect the people. It's not going to affect the rulers or the soldiers. So it's going to affect the life of common people. So what they thought, that to elect a king to their the region. So all they decided and elected Gopala as a king. And we should have a question, why the Gopala only made as a king. So why is made as a king means, he was a good general and warrior, and he had led many successful expeditions on other dynasties. So this is the reason, and he was very powerful, and he knows the administrative system. So that's why the people chose him as a king. Okay, so during his period, in a place known as a Gauda, so and Gauda, he was elected as a king. So during his period, there were the major cities were there, like Gauda, Vikramapura, Pataliputra, Monger, and Somapura, and Ramavati, Tamralipatti, Jagadala. These are the very main cities that were existing during the time of Palas. So why these people are called as a Palas? So we see every king, his name is ended with a Pala. So like for example, we see Gopala, Dharmapala, Devapala. So this name is ended with a Pala, and that's why they are also called as a Pala Empire or Pala Dynasty. So now we see the meaning for Pala. Pala means it's basically meaning of a protector. Pala means a protector who protects his people from the other king invasion, and he takes care of his people. So that is the meaning of Pala. And the Pala Empire ruled around 400 years, and it was ruled by 18 generations of king, and ruled for 400 years. So that's it. We have little sources regarding this, the time period of Gopala. And next, moving to the next ruler, that is Dharmapala. Dharmapala ruled between the period 770 to 810 CE. Okay. So here we should remember the three important kings, the beginning, that Gopala, Dharmapala, and Devapala. And during this period of the three rulers, the power of Palas went to zenith and high. Okay, then after that, then following by the rulers, it was a stagnated period. Means there was no extension or no acquiring of territory by this ruler, or loss of territories. So it was after Devapala, the period is known as a stagnant rule of Pala Empire. So Dharmapala was a son and successor of Gopala, and he said to be one of the powerful king. And after his father, he came to the throne, and he expanded his empire little further. Whatever was there with Gopala, and adding to that, he extended his empire, and he made it the Pala Empire as a dominant power in the north as well as in the East India. So they became a dominant power in that area. And we see during the period of Dharmapala, the very great or important event, that is a struggle between the three empires, that is known as a tripartite struggle. So already I have explained in previous videos in the history of the Rastrakutas and as well as the history of Gurjara Pratiharas. What is the tripartite struggle? Again, I will give little about the tripartite struggle. So, to have a proper or clear understanding about the tripartite struggle, you can watch the previous two videos. So, as I said, this is the extension of Pala Empire. We see that whole the green color. So, it's mostly today's part of Orissa, Bangladesh, Bengal, Bihar, and further Uttar Pradesh. So the borders were like on the top we see Nepal, and in the west we see Pakistan, and here Bay of Bengal. So this extension of empire is very big. So during this tripartite struggle, what happens is that basically as per our understanding, the Gurjara Pratiharas were a little powerful empire comparing to Palas, and whereas Rastrakutas were little more powerful than Gurjara Pratiharas. So each time the Gurjara Pratihara used to attack Pala Empire. So when this Pala Empire going to fall at that time from the Deccan, so the Rastrakutas used to attack this Gurjara Pratiharas as well as the Palas. So you might be aware of where this dynasty is ruling about. So we see the Gurjara Pratiharas was ruling in western part of India, that is present day Gujarat and inland area, and the Rastrakutas in the Deccan. So Deccan means comprising part of Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Andhra Pradesh. So we see the conflict begins like first the Vatsaraja, the Gurjara Pratihara ruler, who attacked Dharmapala, and Dharmapala was defeated by or in the hands of Vatsaraja. So before getting the benefits from the Palas, so what happened from the Deccan? Dhruva, the Rashtrakuta ruler, he attacked on Gurjara Pratiharas. No, once Dhruva attacked, he defeated Dharmapala. He defeated Vatsaraja, the Gurjara Pratihara, and later on he also defeated the Dharmapala, the Pala ruler. So each time, whenever there are many situations where Gurjara Pratiharas used to attack Palas, and in turn Rastrakutas used to wage a war against Gurjara Pratiharas, and after some time the Rastrakutas used to come back to their territory, that is inland area of Deccan. So now whatever the free area is there, it was acquired by Pala Empire. So in that way these Rashtrakutas helped the Palas to get more territories than the before. So it was a totally advantage for Palas, and they were having the vast empire. So why these three empire used to fight is that's important thing. So we see here the three powers coming together. So here a small territory or kingdom known as a place known as a Kannaj. So Kannaj is a very important place. Why it is important? Because it was a capital of Harshavardhana, and it is known for many resources. So mostly this place is located between the river Ganga and Yamuna, and this is a fertile land. So to have a control over this one, these three rulers used to fight for the Kannaj. So now what happened when Kannaj was there? So the Pala, that is Dharmapala, what he did, he installed on the Kannad's throne, he installed his nominee. Wait for me. His nominee known as the Chakrayuda. So he made him as a ruler of Kannad. So once the Dharmapala made him as a ruler, so now what's the situation? The other ruler Pratiharas, so they got angry. He was so furious. So at this time, the Gurjara Pratihara ruler was Nagabhatta. So before we saw the Vatsaraja, then after Vatsaraja, the next king of Gurjara Pratihara was Nagabhatta the second. So in anger, what he did, he attacked again on Kannaj and acquired it, and he even further went into the east. So he went up to South Bihar, that is a place known as Munger. So he was able to conquer territories till there. So he went up to Munger and North Bengal. So he was getting all those territories and he was having control over these areas. So to get a proper control over this, before getting control on it, so from the south, after acquiring territory up to Munger, and the Nagabhatta also said to be defeated the Dharmapala. Okay, once the Dharmapala was in a struggle or in a problem, so from the south or from the Deccan, the Rastrakutas again attacked Gurjara Pratiharas. So this time the ruler was Govinda III, the Rashtrakuta ruler, who attacked the Gurjara Pratiharas. So with this, the Dharmapala rule ends. And the next ruler that we see is Devapala. Devapala is one of the important ruler of Pala Empire. So he ruled between 810 to 850. So basically he was a son and successor of Dharmapala, and he was born to Ranna Devi, and she was basically a princess of Rastrakuta princess. Dharmapala married her, and they gave a birth to a son known as Devapala. So as I said, he was one of the greatest and powerful ruler of the whole Pala kings. Okay, and during his period, or contemporary of his period, is Amogavarsha. But Amogavarsha was a ruler, but he was a minor. So he was assisted by some of the ruler, means some of his relatives. So taking this advantage means, since Amogavarsha was a minor, it took advantages and to attack the Rashtrakuta Empire. It is said that he even defeated the Rashtrakuta Empire. Okay, so during this period only he was able to acquire have a control over up to Vindhyas. So we see his empire, extension of his empire. So this is the north, south, and the east, west and east. Okay, so on the north, his border is up to Himalayas. So this is the mountains, up to Himalayan mountains. His rule was there, and in south we see up to Vindhyas. He expanded Vindhyan ranges, and on the west we see Arabian Sea, and in the east Bay of Bengal. This is the extension of Devapala. So what happened once he was defeated by Gurjara Pratiharas. So he fed off all these situations. Every time is defeated by, the Palas defeated by Gurjara Pratiharas. So what he did, he turned his attention toward the other side. Now he was fighting to his west. Now his focus shifted to the east. That is, in the east, along with in the west we see the Assam. So Assam at that time known as a Kamarupa. So Assam known as a Kamarupa, and also focus on Orissa, that is Utkala. Orissa is old name is Utkala. So he turned his attention towards these two regions. So at this time, the Arab traveler known as Sulaiman, who visited India at the time, he wrote account of this Pala Empire. Okay, and he calls Pala Empire as a Roma. So he calls Pala Empire as a Roma. He's asked in exams like, okay, just remember. So Arab traveler Sulaiman calls Palas as a Roma. Now we see the success of Devapala. So they were their rulers, but it was not so powerful. So we know little about them. Like after Devapala, Mahendrapala and Shurapala the first and Vigrahapala the first. These rulers came one after the other. So and where Vigrahapala, the ruler, this ruler said to be has taken the ascetic life, means he became a sannyasi. Okay, that's the one. And we see the next little bit important ruler, that is Narayanapala. Narayanapala period is this 854 to 1908. So he was a son and successor of Vigrahapala when he was born of a Kalachuri princess known as a Lajja Devi. Okay, that means the Vigrahapala was having matrimonial relationship with the Kalachuris. Okay, so it was Narayanapala was said to defeated by Amogha Varsha. So this time Amogha Varsha became bigger and it became little powerful, and some part of Pala Empire lost to this Rastrakutas, that is Munger, that is in the southern part of Bihar and the north part of Bengal. These were lost. And the next rulers we see the Rajapala, Gopala. Rajapala and Gopala. So this is the time period. Okay, the Gopala ruled up to 960. Okay, these two rulers were a little weak, and what happened during this ruler's period, it was the period is known as a period for the disaster. Means like the empire was fallen, and there were a series of invasion. Means invasion took place. So the invasions by Chandalas and the Kalachuris. Kalachuris who has having a matrimonial relationship before. So even we see the matrimonial relationship between Rastrakutas and Palas. There were always some matrimonial relationships were there. So after this one we see the Vigrahapala the second. So he ruled up to 985. Okay. Then the next little important ruler is Mahipala. Mahipala, he ruled up to 1038. So he is important because two events took place during this period. Okay, so the Pala Empire was decreasing or declining life, and at this time he came as a savior. So he saved Pala Empire at a large part, and he restored its old glory, means the power and the prestige which they were having before. So again this came back to the Pala Empire. And so we know that Mahipala, this ruler is known as we can call him as or consider him as a founder of the second Pala Empire. He is considered as a founder of the second Pala Empire. Okay, this one. And the two important events that took place is a revival of Buddhism. So basically at the time we see the Buddhism was alive only in Pala Empire. So in other parts of India, the almost Buddhism was declining, and at this time the Mahipala took some of the measures to revive the Buddhism. And from the Palas only the Buddhism spread to Tibet and other parts of Southeast Asia. Okay, Myanmar, all these places were means these Pala rulers sent missionaries to the various countries. Okay, the second event is that is attack by Rajendra Chola. Rajendra Chola is a Chola king. Okay, he attacked Palas. So where Palas and so we see the map now. See here, so the Palas are ruling mostly here, and the Cholas are here. So Chola Empire is here. So now what are the Cholas? So they were defeating the rulers and going on by defeating the rulers. So the Chola king, Rajendra Chola, is said to be expanded up to Ganges. So this is the Ganga river which flows. So he extended up to this and he brought some water from Ganga and he built a town known as Gangaikonda Cholapuram. Okay. So likewise, the attack of Chola Empire, Rajendra Chola took place. So what Rajendra Chola did, he just came like he came and he went like it was looting or just for sake of money he came and he did not invade this Pala Empire or empire in and around the Palas. So they came and they looted and they went back. That's it. But we see Mahipala said to that he got back, but he was getting or got back most of the territories back to his empire. Okay, with this we end with Mahipala. Then after the successes of Mahipala, we see Nayapala, who ruled between 1038 to 55. So this is his time period, and his life event is this Nayapala said to be sent a Buddhist mission to Tibet. As I said, this during the Pala Empire, the missionaries were sent to Tibet, Myanmar, Nepal, so in and around this Pala Empire. Okay, the next ruler we see that Vigrahapala, who ruled up to 1070, and Mahipala the second, 70 to 75, and Shurupala the second, and 75 to 77. So this is the time period, and there is not much important regarding these kings. And the next king we see that is Ramapala, is one of the important king of Pala Empire. So Ramapala time period we see 1082 to 1124. So this is the time period of Ramapala. Okay, we know author known as Sandhyakara Nandin, where he has written Ramacharita. He has written a work known as Sandhyakara Nandin, who has written work known as Ramacharita. It was about this ruler Ramapala. It was about the ruler Ramapala. So now, what was the work? So what the Sandhyakara Nandi he was doing, he was like comparing the Lord Rama with this ruler, and he wrote this work. So as I said, it was last greatest ruler of Pala dynasty. Okay, and whatever the territories which were lost by his father, so he managed to get them all back. Okay, and he had a general known as his important name, Timmaga Deva. So he's an important person, just to remember his name. So he was a general who attacked on Kamarupa, that is today's Assam, and brought it under the control of Pala Empire. Okay, now once he got or he acquired the territory, so Tamayadeva, he was made as a governor of Kamarupa. So later on he became a threat for the Pala Empire. Okay, the Ramapala is said to be committed a ritual suicide. It's not a simple suicide. Ritual suicide means for the sake of religion, means it's a religious ritual that it took. So he committed suicide. So the suicide like it was drawing in the river Ganga. Okay, with this we end period of Rampala. Then next rulers one more point to be remembered. During his period, Ramapala period, the capital was Ramavati. The capital was Ramavati. He built the capital, this capital, and he said for he promoted cultivation and did most of the public works. Okay. After Ramapala, we see Kumarapala, and that Kumarapala, Gopala the third, and after Gopala the third, the last ruler, that is Madanapala. Madanapala is said to be the last ruler of Pala Empire, and he ruled between 1144 to up to 62. So this is the time period of Madanapala, and he is youngest son of Ramapala, a little powerful king, and Madanapala tried to save his empire from the clutches of the other Kalachoris and the next to the Sena rulers, but it was in utter failure. So the last word, Madanapala said to have a battle with a Sena king, that is Vijay Sena, and in that battle it is said he was defeated. This battle took on the river known as Kalindi. Okay, on a river Kalindi the battle took, and in this battle the Madanapala was defeated by Vijay Sena, the Sena king, where the Sena empire begins from here, and from here the Pala empire ends. Here the Pala empire ends. Okay, so this is the political history of the Pala empire. So the first three rulers and in between two rulers are important. So you should whole power was raised by the first three rulers, and it was stagnant during the other Pala rulers. Okay, coming to the next session, that is dealing with the administration of the Pala empire. So administration system of the Pala empire is one of the important thing to be remembered. And as we do that, the period Pala period is said to be or considered to be a glorious period or golden period for Bengal and Bihar. Okay, so now the Bengal and Bihar, they got their own identity. Okay, that they have the particular history. So we see the administrative system of the Palas is very quite organized, and always this Palas used to look for or thought about the welfare of the people and to give better life or well settled life to their people. So it was the administrative system, and we see that Palas followed the monarchical system, that the power is vested in one person. So the most power is in the hands of king. So they followed the monarchical system, and they used to have common titles like Parameshwara. So these titles were had by even the Rastrakutas too, and Paramavatara and Maharajati Raja. These were some of the titles owned by the Palas. And for the safe administration or soft administration, they used to appoint prime minister. They used to appoint prime minister. As you see, the administration system is divided into the two, like central administration and provincial administration. So the central administration mostly in the hands of king, and under him there will be vassals like rulers of provincial governments, and they were ministers to help king. And we see later on some of the important positions which helped king to rule the empire. Now we deal with the provincial administration or provincial government. So the province was known as a victis. and province was divided into Vishaya. Vishaya is known as a division. Okay, then under Vishaya we see Mandala. Mandala is said to be the district under the Palas. Mandala is said to be the district under a Palas, and under Mandala we see many smaller units or smaller units of administration like Kandala, Baga, Avritti, Chaturaka and Pataka. These are the some of the smaller unit of administration system of this Palas. Okay, and further we deal with the Palas. As these Palas were famous for granting land grants to the people as well as the mainly Buddhist monasteries. Okay, so these Pala rulers were giving land grants to Brahmins. Though these rulers followed the system of Buddhism, means they used to follow the Buddhism mainly. We'll deal with the religious system. Brahmins and Kshatriyas, they were little important people, and Brahmins were given land grants, and temples also given land grants along with the Buddhist monasteries. So we see here a different kind, that is Kaivartas, the land grants to Kaivartas. Kaivartas were the peasants or the farmers. Kaivartas were peasants or farmers. You remember this one. Okay, and under the central government, as I said, there were feudatories or vassal king used to be there. They were like Rajaputras, Ranakas, Rajanakas, Mahasamantas, Mahasamantpatis. So all these people used to give military service to king. So whenever needed, all these vassals or feudatories used to give military help to the king to wage a war against the other ruler. So we see the next one. These are some of the assigned position that there in the period of Palas. So this is a little important slide. Just to you can take a screenshot of it. So we see at the time Mahasandhi Vigraha. So PM was there, as I said, and the next to Mahasandhi Vigraha, he was a foreign minister. So what the foreign minister does, whenever there is a war, he used to go to the other person and made a peace or make a war. So continue the war. So his work is to deal with his relations. Okay, then next to Dota. Dota is a head ambassador. Okay, Rajasthania is a deputy. Rajasthan is a deputy, and a Sastadikrata is a tax collector, and Mahaksha Patalika is a accountant. Jasakayata his work is dealing with the documents, the important documents dealing with the administration or the empire. Then the next is the Kshetrapa is a head of the land use division. Okay, the next is a Pramarth. Pramarth is a head of a land measurements. Pramarth is a head of the land measurements. And next Mahadandanayaka, or he is also known as a Dharmadikara. So by seeing the word Dharmadikara, you should know that he is a chief justice. Chief justice is known as a Mahadandanayaka or Dharmadikara. He used to deal with the various cases. Then next to Pratihara. Pratihara means police forces. So to have a law and order in the country, so this Pratihara used to do their duty. Then next to Kolas were said to be the secret service. They used to provide secret service. So these are the important assigned positions. This is not hereditary. These were assigned positions in the period of Palas. So next we see some of the agricultural assigned positions. So agricultural assigned position or post like. So we see new in the Palas like Gavadaksha is said to be the head of the dairy farm. Gavadaksha is said to be the head of the dairy farm. And next Chagadaksha is head of the goat farm. And Meshadaksha is said to be the head of the sheep farm. And Mahasadaksha is said to be the head of the buffalo farm. And finally Nakadaksha is said to be the aviation ministry. Okay, these are some of the important agricultural posts that were there during the period of Palas. And we see social conditions under the Palas, how the society were existing under the Palas. So during this period we see the emergence of feudalism. So feudalism is like a rich used to become a richer, and the poor has to become a poor. Like the whole power was in the hands of landlords. Okay, and then poor used to die for a food. And we see the death in the battlefield is a sacred duty. So is considered a sacred duty and is highly praised. The person or soldier whoever died in the battlefield is said to be praised. And social caste system was not so rigid at the time, but there was a supremacy or the domination of Brahmins and Kshatriyas was there. And we see some of the low caste people. So Andhras were said to be the low caste, and the Chandalas, Mudas, Doms and Savaras, these were the people of lower caste. And there was an existence of Devadasi system. So there was a system of Devadasi system where the girl is attached to the temple, and she is taken care by all the rituals were taken care by her. We see some of the food items that were was by these people, like rice, lentil, fish, milk and milk products, sugar, meat, wheat, etc. were there. And we also see some evidence to chewing of bitter leaves with the tamalapaka. We say we take it after food. So in this bitter leaf used to be mixed with different kind of spices, and they were taken after the meal. After every meal they used to take the bitter milk. And we see the condition of women, how the women were there. Mostly the upper caste women were having or had a luxurious life, means since they were within the palace, so they had no particular work they has to do, work like common people. No, so they were there in the palace, and they had jewels and ornaments to decorate themselves. So they were not coming outside, and they were not having independence, but within the palace they were having all the luxuries and other enjoyments. But everything was done within the four walls of the palace. And whereas we see the poor women, means a woman with a lower caste, had to always used to suffer. So they used to suffer in the hands of one way husband. We see mostly the women. So outcast said to be the very worst life in the history, where the life of a woman worse than the outcast. So even the woman is not considered as a outcast. So there was a domestic work, and male dominance was more. And we see Palas were having means they followed the polygamy system. So polygamy system was prevalent at this time, and the dowry system also existed. So they used to insist for dowry, bringing money as a dowry to the groom. And if a groom, the person, man, if a higher caste person, so he is allowed to marry the lower caste women. but if that they provided good amount to the person. Okay, such kind of system was there. And so widows were like, they were living the life of penance. They were not allowed to come in, and they were life, worst life it was like. And the whole womanhood was like just a good and devoted wife. Means she has to be devoted, she has to be sincere to her husband, and do the domestic works like, once a children are born, so she has to take care of the family, she has to raise their children up. So this is the work of the woman. Okay, so the next we see some of the art and architecture of palace. So we see the one school known as a emergence of a Pala school of sculptural art. So sculptural school was coming up at that time. And the Buddhist vihara, these people were known for following the Buddhism. So Dharmapala is known to created a Somapura Mahavira at Paharpur, and along with that Vikramashila, and then Odantapuri, and Jagadal Vihar. These are some of the masterpieces of Pala architecture, and this period is known for means these Buddhist places were important for learning. Okay, and these these were known for age was known as perfect carving. Means they used to carve perfectly. So by this time they had such kind of system. Right. So they used to have bronze sculpting, and painting was also excelled in that time. And okay, and we see some of the rock cut temples that were there, like in places Kalgovan, and Ardhamandapa Vishnu temple is in Gaya, place in Gaya, and Indapai Jagamandkar. These are the important places that were there. So we see some of the examples of Pala art, like Ramavati, a place, a capital by Ramapala. It's an excellent work of Ramapala. Means the construction works, all those. Okay, now let's deal some of the economic conditions during the Pala Empire. So there was economic and material prosperity was there, and the main income was from agriculture. The main income was used to get from agriculture, and as we saw before, this Pala king used to give grants, land grants to farmers or peasants. The important agri products were like rice, sugarcane, mango, bamboo, coconut, and these are some of the important agricultural products. And paddy was the chief source of economy. Means it used to play a vital role in getting the economy for the country. And there was also salt production, and that is in the place Midnapur, that present there is a place on this name only. Okay, then we see the mineral resources. They used to get income not only from agriculture, but also some of the minerals. They used to get minerals like iron ore, diamond ore. The diamonds ore we see at Pandra Varahana. This is the and Jipra Valley. These are the two places where there is a diamond mines are there. And the next level is we see that industry. From the industry also there was income that was getting. The cotton was the principal industry here, and there was also silk industry, and during this time many people took the profession of weaving was there as an important profession. And the silk used to export to the foreign countries. And there was also sugar industry, textile industry, and we see some of the metal industries like a goldsmith, blacksmiths were there, and carpenters also played an important role in getting income to the country. Okay, then we'll see the next, the religious conditions or of Palas. So follow this Palas followed the Buddhism, that is mainly the branch of Mahayana Buddhism or Tantrism, also known as Vajrayanism. These people followed this two branches of Buddhism, and we see the rise of a new sect that is known as a Sahajayana. So what this Sahajayana says is about it is all about against the Tantrism. Like Tantrism means the Buddhas used to follow the path of Hindus, like Tantra mantra. So they used to do rituals and like a ritual, they used to say Hom, and they used to sing Hom, all those things. So all these things were followed by this Buddhist. So the Sahajayana sect came opposition to it, like they followed the simple way of means. They did not follow the Tantra mantra, means that is tantric way of Buddhism. So it was like they used to do meditation, and exactly what the Buddha is said, like he used to follow the meditation, and he did not believe in many rituals. So these Sahajayana used to follow the same path. So during the Palas, the religion like Buddhism spread to the other part of the world, like to Tibet, okay, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, and Indonesia. These are the important places where the Buddhism spread. Buddhism was spread through the Palas. Okay, through this country, the Buddhism was spread to the Palas. And during this period of Pala, there are many scholars were there, and these scholars used to write books on Buddhism and the rule of Palas. And these scholars are mostly were propagating Buddhism in other countries, like some of the scholars we see like Shanta Rakshisi, Padmanava, Danshil, Jimatra, and Samyoga Bajra. These are the some of the scholars. There are many more who propagated Buddhism in other countries. So they used to go to other country and preach this religion and convert them to the Buddhism. And we can say that during this time whole the Buddhism was declining in and around the area, but the Buddhism was only alive in this Pala Empire. So once the Pala Empire collapsed, almost the Buddhism also collapsed in India. But we see today's situation, how the today's situation, the Buddhism is alive in some of the countries like China, Myanmar, okay, in Japan, all these countries. The Buddhism is Tibet is in live, but in India almost in a death condition, means it's almost perished life. So these are some of the religious conditions of Buddha, the Palas they followed. Okay, and with this we came to the end of this Pala rule. Okay, is one way. It's a very important chapter from the perspective of Bihar and Bengal. Okay, and in the whole in history of India, this is also one of the important dynasty that where this the main role played in the tripartite struggle. So these three are powerful for a tripartite struggle, and Palas is one of the power in a tripartite struggle. So these are now the political history, administrative conditions of Palas, art and architecture, and social condition, economic condition, and religious conditions of Palas. So dealing with all this, you need to revise again and again, so that you will have a grip on the subject. Okay, with this we came to the end, and my request is, please friends, subscribe the channel and press on the bell icon, so that you will get the regular notifications. So thank you so much.